Well, I have a new favorite vampire movie. In fact, it's not a new movie at all. It's the 1985 classic Vampire Hunter D. I gotta say thank you to Friendly Neighborhood Geek for recommending this movie and frankly reminding me that it exists. This is one I used to hear a lot of good things about back when I was younger. I just never had a chance to watch it. It escaped my mind completely, but I'm so glad I watched it now. It's a great movie. It has aged very gracefully like a vampire. And before you say it, I haven't watched Bloodlust yet. That might be the next video, but I want to talk about this first movie, which was based on the first Vampire Hunter D novel, which turns 40 this year. There are over 50 books in the series, still being made by the same writer and the same illustrator. It blows my mind what an achievement that is. Just gotta congratulate those people. That is quite the accomplishment. But anyways, let's talk about this movie. So the movie takes place in the future, in a world that has been kind of rampaged by vampires, werewolves, mutants, demons, all kinds of terrible things. And the movie wastes no time getting into the action. It starts out with this young woman running around in a field with a big old gun and her cybernetic horse, and she's hunting something which looks like this big old demonic dinosaur or something. She messes up the dinosaur with her gun and there's a lot of gore. It's pretty gruesome, a little shocking. I wasn't expecting that right off the bat, but very cool until she comes across this terrifying vampire. And then we don't know what happens to the girl until later on in the movie, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but fast forward 50 years and we see our hero D, the vampire hunter, casually strolling along on his cybernetic horse when he's approached by another young woman, and she is looking for help because she's been bit by a vampire and she's going to be forced to wed this 10,000-year-old vampire and become a vampire herself, and she doesn't want any of this, so she's looking for help. She doesn't have anything to offer D, really. She can't really pay him anything. She offers herself to him. But D's such a gentleman, man. He turns her down multiple times over the course of the movie, but he still agrees to help her. He decides to take down this vampire for her and save her. And that is a big, big mission because this evil vampire's got so many nasty minions. He's got other vampires, he's got werewolves, he's got mutants, he's got all sorts of demons and terrible monsters. So many cool action scenes throughout this thing. It's a short movie, it's like 80 minutes, but it is paced very, very well. The story is really interesting, the characters are very interesting as well, and there's plenty of action. This thing keeps on moving at a steady pace. I loved it. No need to drag out a movie longer than it needs to be. They were able to pack so much into this. D is just such a cool character. He is supposed to be this very handsome, charming, mysterious guy. He carries this super long sword. He rides around on his dark, semi-robotic horse, and he's just very, very powerful. He's got all kinds of magical powers because he's half vampire himself, half human, and he doesn't really fit in with either crowd for the most part. He just kind of lives his life alone, roaming the lands and trying to do good, and he's always down to take on some other vampires and bad guys and fight for peace and for humanity. And he kind of has this conflict, this inner conflict. He doesn't like that he's part vampire. He doesn't like that lineage. He doesn't like that part of himself, but it's kind of like his cross to bear, and he's just trying to do what's right. He's got this symbiotic left hand. It has a face on it and it talks to him and has its own sorts of powers. It's just such an interesting character. And there's a lot of other strong supporting characters in here. Even some of the villains are very interesting. Some of them you just hate with a passion. And then towards the end, you kind of understand what's driving them and you might feel a little sorry for them in some cases. Not in all cases, but in some cases. Even some of the humans are bad too, and it's like, there's so much darkness and this is such a grim world, but the good guys in this movie, they all lighten it in their own way. You really have that sense of hope for the remaining people in the world, humanity, and I guess the goodness of the heroes in the movie just shine that much brighter. Very dark movie though, very gothic kind of setting, which it should be as a vampire film. I think the animation holds up very well after all these decades. I was really impressed even from the first scene, just the visuals. When that girl's running around in the field and you see like all the blades of grass kind of in front of her, in front of the screen moving around, and there's so many different layers of things in the environment moving around at different paces, and I thought it just looked fantastic. Some of the characters are a little bit inconsistently animated. Just the way they're drawn, the style is like, looks so weird at times. It kind of switches up. It has a very distinctive style, very unusual art style at times, but I really dig it. It was very cool. Usually I'm a subtitle snob, but the only way I could find to watch this movie was the English dub. I understand it's been dubbed over a couple times. I honestly don't know which one I watched, but it wasn't too bad. It was pretty good. It was pretty enjoyable. A lot of different kind of like country accents.
I mean, you seem okay to me.
But it was cool. I enjoyed it. Yeah, very dark, very mature movie overall. There were a few parts that had me laughing, and I don't think I was supposed to be laughing. I won't spoil anything, but it had to do with people falling off of cliffs. I think there were about 3 times when people fell off cliffs in this movie, and every time I cracked up. 2 out of the 3 times, the people deserved it. The 3rd time was awful, and I still laughed. I don't know. Some of the dialogue was pretty humorous.
Come on, let's get a room so we can drink some more.
Back to the cat house, you floozies.
That's no way to treat a lady!
It had me cracking up. Loved this movie. Absolutely loved it. Characters you care about, great action scenes, just a good story. Animation that holds up, the whole thing. Great vampire movie, very original and kind of visionary of the time. We've seen a lot of different vampire and vampire hunter movies over the years. I think of like Van Helsing and stuff like that. But this one's been around for a very long time, and it's safe to say that some other vampire series have definitely drawn inspiration from this series. And of course, this was probably inspired by Dracula and even older vampire stories, right? But it has its own very original material also. Very well done. I feel like there were certain parts of the movie I didn't quite understand. There were certain questions that remained mysteries to me, and I was just reading up on a little bit of the lore before shooting this video and was able to make sense of some of it. And then other things like, where the heck did he get his crazy hand? It looks like that was never explained. It still hasn't been explained in the books after 50 plus volumes and 40 years of publications. So I don't know, maybe we'll find out someday, but for what it's worth, it was just a really fun movie. Excellent movie. Vampire Hunter D, must watch for sure. Any fan of anime or vampires or kind of dark gothic horror, I guess it can be classified as horror, but to me it's just a fun movie. It's not scary, it's a little gory, has a lot of dark subject matter, but it's a good time, so yeah. Check it out, Vampire Hunter D, and thanks again to Friendly Neighborhood Geek for giving me the recommendation and for the support. Thank you to everybody who's been watching and subscribing to the channel. I appreciate you guys so much, so you take care. I will see you next time. Let me know if you have any other recommendations. See you on the next one.